All right, Auntie Eddie, thank you. Now, Kevin Rudd has made an apology over deaths related to the ceiling insulation program under his former government. 3 young men were killed in a scheme the Queensland coroner found had inadequacies, quote unquote. Now, the Prime Minister says he accepts their deaths could have been prevented.
I would simply say, on behalf of the Australian Government, how deeply sorry I am, and of course we apologise without reservation.
Mr Rudd said contractors also deserve blame.
Let's bring in our big guns of politics now. Treasurer Chris Bowen and Shadow Treasurer Joe Hockey. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Chris, first to you. These tragedies happened years ago. Has Mr Rudd waited too long to apologise?
Well, any death at a workplace is tragic. We had a coroner's report yesterday. As I understand it, the family had some things to say about it. I think the Prime Minister responded the right way. Any death is tragic. We all need to work to stop them. And by saying that we apologise and that we accept all the recommendations, that's the only responsible thing for the Prime Minister to do. And I think that was the right thing for him to do yesterday.
Joe, do you welcome Kevin Rudd's move?
Well, firstly, let me say to the families of those young people that died how sad we are. I mean, one of the young people that died installing the pink bats was just 16 years of age, and it's a terrible, terrible event. But I'd just say to you, Kevin Rudd was warned on 10 occasions in writing that there were dangers associated with this program, and he has not released those letters. 4 of the letters came from Peter Garrett, who has not only resigned from the ministry but refuses to work with Kevin Rudd and is resigning from Parliament. And I'd say to you that we are going to pursue this. We are going to pursue it in and out of Parliament, because it's not good enough to just have an apology from Kevin Rudd. He now needs to disclose all the warning letters he received that indicate that he knew exactly what the risks were of this Pink Bats program.
OK, moving on. The Liberal Party has taken aim at a new Rudd government minister in an online video. It shows Julie Collins stumbling over her words at a press conference.
And people that have a bit of...
OK, now a stutter support group says it is offensive. However, Miss Collins doesn't have a stutter. She was just flustered. Joe, we've all been flustered, and particularly in front of cameras. Do you stand by this?
Absolutely, and I'd say to you, she doesn't have a stutter. She just doesn't know what she's talking about. The fact that the Labor Party have had 70 front benches in just 6 years. They've only got 102 people in their entire party room.
Joe, so imagine it's a bit mean, though, and a bit personal.
Oh, Koshy, go and have a look at some of the ads about myself and Tony Abbott, and look at previous ads about Julie Bishop and so on from the Labor Party. I mean, come on. What they've said about us, and now they're crying poor because we're criticising one of their most senior ministers who doesn't understand exactly where Kevin Rudd is going. I mean, no one does. He hasn't released any policies. No one knows where Labor's going. All we know is that we've got fake Kevin running around pretending to campaign.
OK, you two. Chris, Joe's got a point, but both sides. I think as a public we get sick of these sort of negative campaigns.
I agree with you, Koshy. I agree with you. And this election won't be decided... This election won't be decided over whether a minister stumbles over a few words in what I'm sure was a long press conference. This election will be decided on the issues, and let's not have ads about cutting and splicing. Let's have a debate. Why don't we have an hour-long debate? Why doesn't Tony Abbott and Kevin Rudd have a debate? Joe, why don't you and I have a debate on the economy? And instead of having a 2-second ad about whether somebody stutters or not, let's have an hour-long debate about the issues. Why don't you drop the huff and the puff and the bluster that you like to engage in, and why don't we have a proper discussion about the future of Australia, about our positive plans? Why not? Because you guys are good at the negativity, but let's have a positive debate about the future of Australia.
Joe, will you have a debate?
Yes. And what we're saying
Let's set the date, Joe. Let's set the date. Why don't we set the debate for a debate?
We talked about this last week. We need to set the date because you both agree.
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
So let's do it.
Let's set it.
OK,
let's do it. Let's have an election. We're waiting for the 14th of September.
No excuses, Joe. Let's have a debate. Why don't we have a debate next week?
Why isn't there an
Why don't we have a
election?
debate next week, Joe? No excuses
whenever.
about putting it off. Let's
What are
do
your
it.
policies? What are your policies? What are you debating?
Well,
What are your
let's
policies?
have an hour-long debate about our positive plans for the future, about our plans for the services and manufacturing industry, about your
Okay.
plan to increase business tax.
Beauty.
Why don't we have a debate
All right.
about it?
We'll talk to both your people. We'll organise a
happy
town
to
hall
do it.
debate.
I
and we'll
want
do
an
it.
election.
And we'll show
I
the
want
highlights.
an election. The Australian people
Okay.
want an election.
All right, debate's
We're
finished.
Having an election, let's have
take your
some
vote for that.
debates. Let's have a proper debate. I think the Australian people want to see Tony and Kevin and you and I talking
We're going to
about
do
our
it.
plans for
We're
the
going
future.
We'll organise it.
All right.
You guys have a great weekend.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, moving on.